there everyone, this is Rachel and I'm here for Sketch It Out Thursday. Here's this week's inspiration piece and here's the sketch I'm going to be working with. I stick pretty close to it but not exactly. So I'm getting started by just poking through and I find this piece of paper that looks really close to that clock in the inspiration piece which kind of made me laugh. But I do end up using it, but I don't have a huge amount of it left. So I do try to make a little bit of it work since it is in very close to what's in the inspiration piece. I'm going to be working with these two photos that I've cut down to 4x4s. Now in the sketch there are 3 photos, but items I had 3 photos of weren't going to work in that direction. So I just went with these 2, and I think it worked out really, really well. Now I'm showing you the strips of the papers I'm using. The one with the triangles is actually called Daily Essential Arrows from Megan Hopner for Webster's Pages. And then the one, now because it's such a light pink, my lighting blows it out. It is definitely not as white as it looks. And that one is called The Blotter from Studio Calico. And now I'm cutting this piece of ombre polka dot, and that is called Juggler, and that's also from Studio Calico. Now I'm inking all of my edges. So sorry guys, I have a tail end of a cold and I keep having to clear my throat, so I had to pause that for a moment. As I was saying, that paper that I cut down as my background is a pale pink wood grain, and it's very pretty, but it does get a little blown out by my light here. So I've got these 2 photos, and I am using my Scraptastic kit for December along with my counterfeit kit that I made to go along with it. And at first I think I'm going to try to use those teal stripe paper, but I love a good diagonal stripe for a border. I do not like, however, a real stripe for a border. Unless it's a very fine stripe, it just doesn't hit very well. So instead I grabbed this Scraptastic paper that is a tone-on-tone heart, and I used that for one of my photos. And then I had grabbed this frame. Now I hadn't originally grabbed it to go in my counterfeit kit. I had grabbed a couple of other frames, but none of those were big enough for what I needed. So instead I grabbed this wood grain one, and that works really well for my second photo. And so I have one bordered and one framed, and I'm really liking the way this is turning out. So I get all my papers lined up, and I wanted this to be just a little, I wanted that triangle paper to be just a little longer than it actually was. So I just cut it in half, and now I'm just using the little trick of spreading it behind another piece of paper. It's always a favorite trick to do. And I'm liking the way this is looking. Now I have a lot of pink papers when my niece is wearing a very tealish green dress. So I'm using my embellishments, and I'm going to add that, like I added that blue heart paper, and I add a couple of other tealish items in to bring those photos out more. Because right now it looks really discordant, but I promise you it really works in the end. I really like the way this turned out. So I get everything all glued down, and then I remember, oh yes, in this sketch the spattering was under the photos, and I really liked the way that looked in the sketch, so I decided to go ahead, take everything up, and make some splatters in Heidi Shine Black, and Heidi Shine. Sorry, I've been watching Inky Quill apparently. Heidi Swap Color Shine in Black, and then also in Peach. So once I get all that and I let it dry for a few minutes, I get everything all laid back where it belongs, and I'm good with that. I'm going to add a little bit of extra glue to that frame. That frame is very thick and it kept bowing up, so I did end up adding glue even after I was done with it. It just did not want to stay down. Now these stickers came in my Scraptastic kit. They are called, hang on, they're right here. Of course they're right here in a noisy part. They are called Fitzgerald, and they're in a teal color. And so I start my title, which is going to be Oh Look, and then there's a subtitle under the frame, but I remembered I wanted to see how many of these floral die cuts I had. So that's from the Happy Place die cut set from Fancy Pants. And then I go through this very old set of Color Resist Heidi Swap die cuts, and I want those as my base layer for my embellishment clusters. And while I was doing that, I remembered I hadn't finished my title, so you missed the part where I put down the word O. Now I'm going to be using my Distress ink in Spun Sugar, and I did not realize that this die cut had been a little ripped, and I ripped it completely, but it's totally okay because I can glue it back together and cover it up with one of the little flower die cuts. I then do the third die cut in Evergreen Bow, and I get them back to where they were before I inked them up. And I did pause the video and wash my mat off and let those dry a little bit before I tried to put them on the layout, but I cut that out because who wants to watch paint dry, literally. So I get these all glued down, and I'm going to work it together. Now you can see the split, so what I end up doing is I just take those flowers and I put it right over where the split is, and you can't tell at all that it ripped. I love that about paper, is the way you can work around all the rips and stuff that you accidentally do when you're scrapbooking. So I'm going to get all these flowers glued down. I'm using my fine line bottle, which has Scotch Quick Dry adhesive inside of it. And sorry about that, guys. Man, that coughing. Okay, so I'm getting the rest of these glued down. Now, this little frame came from the die cut pack along with the flowers, and I just picked that out as another greenish blue element to bring into the page. I get my big butterfly put down, and then I start putting all of the flowers down on that side. I'm also going to add the rest of my title with a Studio Calico mini alpha that I just picked up on a kit I picked up on clearance. So my entire title is going to be, "Oh look, my hand." My best friend was taking photos of her daughter. Of course, this is years ago. She's a teenager now. And she said I put her down to, take a picture of her, and all of a sudden she's like, "Oh look, my hand." She just kept opening and closing it. So it's just a cute little story. I am finishing up my third embellishment cluster and adding that little heart down by the subtitle. I add 3 little word stickers from this Bella Boulevard tiny type, and those say, "Let your light shine, this happened, and be positive, patient, and persistent." So I'm going to get that little black die cut glue down, and I decide that with that die cut down there, I really think the black X and O die cut looks the best, and I'm going to just put it on the upper left-hand corner. And I'm pretty much all set. The last thing I'm going to do is flick some enamel dots around my embellishment clusters. Thank you so much for joining me here for Sketch It Out Thursday at the Crafty Maven Getaway. Hope you guys have a great day. Flick me a thumbs up if you can. And if you're interested in subscribing to my personal YouTube channel, the information will be in the description box below. Goodbye, everyone. Have a wonderful day. Bye.